A sick society's purpose is to keep people confused and uninformed. And ultimately, whatever happens, reverse the truth because once you revert the truth, well, everyone will be living a lie. So, if everything is a lie, and most people believe in a religion as if it is something greater than them, well, if you were taught through your religion that you're worshipping God, well, religion has been taught in reverse. So what if you're actually worshipping the devil instead? What if you're actually worshipping the matrix instead? Because you're actually worshipping the matrix. Look at, for example, Christianity, right? Christianity is split into two options, and one of them doesn't seem to have had much of an influence on the world, aka the Orthodox path, but the other side, Catholic part, definitely had a huge influence on the world, right? All the big empires of Europe were under the influence, more or less, of Catholicism when they began their conquests. And, well, they only brought misfortune, separation, and even further ignorance. The question is your religion promoting unity? Is your religion promoting unitedness? Or is it just teaching you to see people different? Because all the religions that we can think of, they have functioned on the principle the others aren't believing in our religion, so they are basically the enemy. So this Catholic Christianity has kind of functioned that way. It made you feel as if everyone else is the enemy and they must be punished if they don't change their paths. But in ignorance, you simply can't understand that you can't change someone's path if they've been believing in a certain spiritual path or even another religion. You simply can't change it that easily, okay? You simply can't bend those people's wills because they've been programmed and they've been living with that for long enough. Look at Catholicism, right? The so-called religious wars, they've been aimed against the Ottoman Empire, right, and people of other religions. And the Eight Crusades were non-successful, but they were still attempts to try to bend other people's will and ruin their religion. So all these religions, are you sure that in this sick society that reverses your truth, are you sure that these are actually promoting your well-being, that they are actually having you believe in the so-called God? See, God and the devil are nothing else but creations of our imagination. Because do you think creation actually has us humans as its forefront, as its epicenter? Because that's what religion would indirectly teach you, that God always focuses on you. Their only attention and their sole attention is on you specifically. Because these people, these elites who are, well, wetting their pants and imagining that they are ruling this world. See, they've been thinking about these plans that they have with the pandemic and the such for thousands of years beforehand. Many people say tens of years, but I assure you it's been a few thousand years beforehand, because through certain practices of the occult, you can see how energy tendencies go, and you can predict that humans will reach a place and time when they will start waking up, and their dream, will fall. Their, dream society will simply fail. It's not gonna have the same impact, and people will no longer be easy to rule. So their point and plan was to simply make sure that through thousands of years of programming people to stay low, to stay easily predictable, because through ignorance you're always easily predictable, right? And the very simple point is, if you keep people ignorant, well, they're always going to be predictable as well. And they're going to become easier and easier to control. Problem, reaction, solution. See, the pandemic in 2020 wasn't the only pandemic that appeared. There have been many others, right? There's been another coronavirus so-called pandemic in the 1950s, I heard, somewhere in Spain, I think. No one did anything and it simply vanished on its own accord because people got naturally immunized to it. But since their dream world started crumbling, they needed to impose draconic rules and legislations to reinforce their so-called dominion over this world. So are you sure that in this sick society we are actually worshipping the so-called gods? Because God is nothing else but an embodiment of this matrix. It was created as a limitation in this matrix, because what is its path? What is its purpose? Well, it only has one single purpose, and that is to simply control you, to keep you complacent, right? To make sure that you don't do anything else than the establishment wants. Look, for example, how Christianity has been treating witches, aka people who are doing things other than what the establishment wanted. Look, for example, at mass media today. Someone does something that the establishment doesn't want, there will always be keywords that will be attached to those to simply corrupt and draw public opinion against those, right? You're called a communist, now you're called pro-Russian, or you're called whatever other names, that are deemed as the enemy by the so-called establishment, right? In the American news, if someone doesn't like you, you're a pro-Russian, you're a communist, right? Because people have been taught that communism is bad. See, all political regimes are bad because they're born here, right? They're perfect on paper, but if you take a look at them, they have been created in this sick society. So in this sick society, well, ignorance is its backbone. Everything that is created out of ignorance will obviously, sooner or later, but will obviously bring suffering. The religions that we have been believing in, well, they have been nothing else but bringing you suffering, because their only purpose was to teach you that something else existed, right? That so-called perfect heaven, or that place where everything is perfect, everything is great, everything is good. Look, for example, at Christianity. It told people live poor, right? So that they will be constantly programmed, right, throughout the generations to live poor, because if they don't live in any materialism, well, they will have all the riches they want in heaven after they die. But at the same time, stupidity of humanity and simplicity in thinking and ignorance didn't allow people to see the link, because once you die, you're called a soul, right? Your soul leaves, your soul is not physical. When it gets into heaven, why would your soul need all the riches in the world if it is no longer physical? If it doesn't have a body, it can't enjoy those physicalities, right? So live poor and live all your riches, right? Because you don't need riches, you need to live poor, and God will simply welcome you in their heavens. But there is a problem. If we think about this clearly, there is a big problem. Because look at the church. It's been the greatest NGO of the whole world, right? Because it's been a corporation. It's been the first corporation that existed in this world. And, well, if you look at it, well, its purpose was to keep you poor. Just like corporations nowadays, or a lot of the NGOs at least, they're doing nothing else than teaching you how to be complacent. They're exploiting your insecurities and your frustrations, right? Because a sick society creates frustrations. It functions based on what I call, personally, right? I call them constructs. These are aspects that the occult technically would use, especially in manipulation, so that you create those now, so that you make use of those even years in the future, right? Hundreds of years, or probably even more, right? They are things that you build, and they will be of great use later on. Because when you create separation, it's always going to be a frustration, right? You have so many languages. You can't communicate with other people because you don't know their language. It's a frustration, right? Christianity. What did Catholicism do? Well, it taught women that everything about them is bad, right? Everything about you is bad. Menstrual cycles are bad. They're a punishment of God because the woman was unfaithful. But obviously there is something against women because, these religions, these monotheist religions, they have been born into paternity, or man-ruled societies, and their narcissism will obviously make the only god of that religion be a man, obviously, and obviously they will have issues with women because, narcissists are very impulsive. They can't hold their impulses, right? And since everyone to them is a prize, they can't accept that a woman is independent or thinks or acts better than them. So obviously women would have to be demonized. So if you're still thinking that you're worshipping the God of love, why is it that Christianity is represented by fear? Because only through fear can you rule the ignorance, right? It's the rule of thumb. Only through fear can you rule idiot people. Because when you're keeping people ignorant, well, you're keeping them stupid. You're keeping them unknowledgeable. And unknowledgeable people have this impression that they are immortal. Imagine the frustration that they will get suddenly when they realize that they are mortal. A lot of these people, well, they kind of realize they're mortal when they are 80 or 90, right? When they are close to their death. And those frustrations that they create this lifetime, well, they will take them in the future lifetimes. And they will have to get incarnated in this world. So the way you teach them, that's the way they will live. The way they die, well, that's the way they will be born. Because through the karma that you have when you die, you will be seeking to release that karma. So if you teach people to live a certain way and die in a certain type of pain and frustrations and such, they will get born back into this sick society. And, well, specifically in the Christian world, most likely. And, well, the cycles continue again and again and again. So technically, the Matrix has a limitless amount of humans that will come back and, well, serve this system as batteries, because you're nothing else but a battery that needs to be used till exhausted, and then you're nothing else but discardable material. Look at how this sick society is treating the old people, right? Weren't they a main target of the pandemic? Of course, because to corporations, well, corporations and this capitalism, this exploitation of humans by humans, well, it doesn't like women because sooner or later they have to give birth, so they need not work so that they take care of their children. If you're not working in this sick society, you're a pariah. You're not wanted because you're not a battery that serves the system, right? And when you're old, again, the system sees you as discardable material because you're no longer capable to work, and the state has to give you money apparently for nothing because you're no longer working. Wherever you go in this sick society, you're always going to be paid with the minimum wage because this sick society says you're not worth more than that. Is it truly a truth, or is it something that you're programmed to accept and basically just live by it? Well, that depends for everyone to understand sooner or later. So if we are to think, do you truly think you're worshipping God, or you're worshipping an avatar created by this matrix, so that by giving it attention, you're actually feeding the matrix more and more? Because in so many countries of the world, you see Christians gathering, you see Muslims, you see people gathering in temples. Those are not temples, those are battery draining, let's say, centers. They're feeding off of your emotions and whatever so that it feeds the matrix. Why do you think this matrix is crumbling? Well, it is crumbling, but it is still holding because, well, it is still feeding off of a lot of unconscious people. And don't be surprised, but there will be revelations about, fake people. People made in devices, in laboratories, through cloning, because this sick society wants people who are dumb, who are very simple, and at the same time it doesn't even want you because, you're always a problem. Why do you think it wants machines more than it would want humans? Because they can play with machines any way they want. People right now fight for their own gender, for gender identity, orientations, and what's not. But they forget that through the pandemic, it didn't even matter whether you are transgender or a woman or whatever you were, they still wanted you dead, right? This religion of God, or whatever you call it, this matrix wanted you all dead. It didn't care whether you were this or that, or whether you were even worshipping its own let's say corporations, its mass media, or any of its pillars of power, because People who are worshipping, who are representing the mass media, they also got doped, right? With the propaganda that they actually need to take the COVID cure, right? And now a lot of people are coming out and saying, hey, we've been forced to do this, but it's to no avail. So do you think you're actually worshipping God or you're worshipping something fake? All this being said, well, hopefully this video was introspective enough. You're appreciated. Take care. And well, feel free to view any other content on this channel. Take care. This being said, wishing you an awesome day. Ferinjan Board signing out.